everybody, and welcome back to the shop. I might be a little under the weather today, so my voice might sound a little off, but either way, we got a job to do. Today we're going to be changing the alternator on a 2015 GMC Acadia with the 3.6 liter. So if that's something you need to learn how to do, go ahead and watch the video and you're going to see exactly how. So let's go ahead and get into it. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is make some room in here. Go ahead and move the oil cap. Pop this up out of the way. That'll give us a little bit more room in here, and then we're going to take this whole piece off. We're going to have all these pop clips here all along. We're going to go ahead and get those out of the way, but first we're going to go ahead and remove these 10 mils right here, even though they're separate. We'll go ahead and pop these out, just get them out of the way, because we're going to have to remove them anyway. Oh, that's an 11. It's not going to work because it's an 11 and it needs to be a 10. You know, I grabbed the 11 because it was in the place of the 10 because the 10 was missing. Here's the 10. Set these off to the side. Go ahead and start popping these clips out. This tool works pretty good. Get under the edge of it. Get the center popped out. Just like that. And it should. Sometimes they come apart, but that's fine. And go ahead and stick them back together. So as you can see, you just pull that middle out, and then it releases it so these can close and you pull it out. Do that with all of them you find along here. Get this out of our way. Now we have so much more room for activities. Next, we're going to have to get this here out of the way in this line. But first, before we dig any deeper, we're going to go ahead and disconnect the battery cable because all the power from the battery comes up from behind the passenger seat and the floorboard. So your floorboard right under your passenger seat, kind of in the floorboard of your back passenger seat, there's a little hatch and your battery's going to be in there, and this cable runs to it. You can either disconnect it at the battery, or if you disconnect it here, you just have to be extra careful to make sure that this terminal doesn't touch anything, because this is the power distribution box, so this is all the power coming in, so it'll cut the power to the alternator, which is what we're going to be removing. So I normally disconnect it from the battery cable back there, and I'll just put some rags underneath it to put in between, but this is going to be a live wire that could move around, so we're going to tape it up a little bit with a rag on it just to keep it from touching stuff. When you're taking this off, make sure you don't arc on anything metal. There's not a lot around, it's plastic, but you could do it. But we got that off now. We're just going to have to pull it off and be extra careful. We're going to go ahead, fold this rag up, pull this off, wrap it completely around the line. Go ahead and put a little tape on it just to ensure it doesn't go anywhere. Right. No exposed metal. We should be good. Just let that sit back there, not touch anything. Now we're going to have to get this out of here. Got a little Christmas tree clip right here on this bottle. Alright, Alright, this bottle is almost free. We're going to have to wiggle it out of there a little bit after we disconnect the hose that's down a little bit lower. So as you can see, our alternator is buried down there. We're going to have to remove this here coolant tank, push this here line out of the way, and do some fancy work to get it out. But I think we can squeeze it out the top without having to remove the engine mount and the power distribution box like all data says that you're supposed to. So let's go ahead and see if we can get this thing squeezed out here after we get this coolant bottle off. As you can see, there's a hose running into the bottom of it. Right there, this hose. You're going to disconnect it and get this tank up out of your way. So as you can see down here's your alternator. Here's one of your bolts and there's the other one, two of them. I believe these to be 15, and then you're going to have these inverted Torx heads to take the studs out. That's going to be the only way we're going to be able to get it up this way. Otherwise, if you just take the nuts off, it'll have to slide off the studs and it'll start hitting the AC line down there. So that's why you have to remove the motor mount and the power distribution box according to all data. But if we take these studs out, they're a little bit of a pain to get back in, but we're going to be able to avoid all that stuff and pull it straight out the top. Alright, we got this 12mm nut down here. We're going to go ahead and get that off, get this power wire out of our way, kind of push some of this other stuff out of our way after we do. And this is exactly why you disconnected that power wire earlier, because if you didn't, then this would be a live wire. And when we take it off and start hitting all this metal stuff down here, well, we'd have sparks and probably a fried computer. So we don't want to do that. Come on. Now we pull this wire off, get it up here out of our way. As you can see, we have a clip connector here. We're going to go ahead and push the tab in and work it out. As you can see here, just push the tab in. Sometimes you have to push in while pushing the tab and then pull out. So now we'll set that off to the side as well. Get these out of the way. As you can see, this is going to be somewhat in the way, but we should be able to squeeze through it. So as you can see down here, now there's our two bolts that are up here. We're going to go ahead and crack these loose, and then we'll move on to the other one. Once we get it taken completely out, we'll come back up here and we'll work on getting it out. Alright, so next what we're going to do, you can get away with just turning this wheel to the right to get access in here, but you're not going to have near as much space. So what we're going to do is just go ahead and take these 622mm off, get the tire out of the way, and then we'll show you what you got to do inside. So now, as you can see, behind the wheel we got this shield. We're going to go ahead and remove these two clips right here, push that up out of the way, and then we'll have access to the last bolt for the alternator, and also how to get the belt off so we can get this alternator out of here. So we're going to go ahead and get them out real quick. Find all your clips you threw all over the place. Hey, there's one. Ooh, piece of candy. Ooh, piece of candy. So as you can see right there, this pulley with this bolt, we're going to take that out. It's not going to come all the way out because it's going to hit this here frame rail. So we just get it loose, leave it in the alternator, then we'll take the two top bolts the rest of the way out, and that's when we're going to try to wiggle her out the top. But first we got to put our 1/2 inch right in here, tweak it to where it loosens the belt, and pull the belt off all this stuff before we start loosening anything. So let's do that now. Then we'll go ahead and pull it off this here AC compressor. And then right there, slipped it right off the alternator. Let her hang there. And when you end up being mentally challenged and allow that to take your ratchet, you just have to little pry bar in there. And you can reverse your ratchet and get it out. Sometimes I'm like timing, just a little retarded. Like I said, we're going to go after this here pulley. It's 15, I believe. We're going to go ahead and try to break that loose real quick. Best bet, use a ratcheting wrench, preferably flex head. Get you in there good. Plenty of room. As you can see, the bolt will not come all the way out because it's hitting the frame. So we just have to leave it hanging there, and then when we get it halfway pulled up the top, it'll fall out and we can get it out of there. So we're going to get back to the top now. Let's see if we can push this over there. Keep that out of our way long enough to pull this stud. Well, I figured the nut would be coming with it, but apparently not. Just like that. Got one out. And then this will be the final one, so it'll be a little bit tougher to take off just because all the weight's resting on this one stud now. And this is going to just drop off here any second. So the camera might get jostled when this here pops out. We'll see. And this is where this part becomes hard because you got to hold that alternator up while you get those started. So as you can see, it fell right off. Pull our ratchet off. So now as you're going to see, it's not going to be easy to get out, but once you get this pulled over to the side, you can reach down in here, pull your third bolt out. It's also pulley. Go ahead and set that off to the side. I'll go back in later. And then to get this out, we're going to have to twist it this way and then do it this while holding it like this and pushing it under and flipping it around while holding everything apart like that while we're doing this with only two hands. So that's what we're going to do now. Pushing stuff out of the way, get it up past this AC line, rotate, maybe push this line out of the way, hold the alternator, pull this out of the way. Go ahead and get your dipstick out of the way. Why not? Just everything you can get out of the way. Push these lines over while pulling up. Rotate again. Make sure the stud's not on stuff. Pull that out of the way. Gonna have to rotate some way again, it looks like. This way then. Let's go ahead and pull the pulley up first. This is in the way. Move. Just like that. So as you can see, we didn't have to remove any engine mounts or back power boxes. Just move some shit out of the way. You can finagle it out of there. So then we're going to go double check, make sure our new alternator matches this. Then we're going to have to reverse that procedure, force it back down in there, get our wheel in before we get it started. Then we'll have to work on getting these studs back in. So as you can see, here's our old one. Here's our two front holes. This one's offset higher a little bit. Same here. And our third back there going in this way. Also, our stud is in the same spot. So this is an exact replacement. We're going to go ahead and try to slide this one in now, get it all bolted up, and finish this job up. So when we're going back in, you don't want to damage your new one, so just be careful of your stud and your plug-in back here. You're going to want to keep everything out of the way that you can to make it go in as easy as possible. So anything you can push out of the way or tuck out of the way prior to setting it in there is definitely going to help you. And then we got all this room in here for activities. So now we're going to get ready to start said activities. Like I say, everything we can get out of our way now. It's going to be less we're going to have to do when we're putting it in. But I think this is one we're just going to have to work around that one. So let's try this first. Protecting your terminals. Oh, that's actually pretty easy going back in. I like that. Then we got to turn it. Set it down into place. Try to slip it under that hose. And just like that, we are back down there. So now we got to get that wheel and install it in to the actual alternator. That way, once we get those studs put in, we can get this wiggled in and lined up and get it back in as well. So we can actually get rid of this now because that's going to be in our way because we need to go down through that way. I've got to get my stool. Alright, short fucker got a stool. Now I got to bend over twice as much. But I can reach shit. Sometimes you got to get a little flexible. You got to tilt the alternator back. Find your alternator hole for the stud to go through. Just doing it by feel. Almost. Come on. There we go. Right into the hole. Alright, now that we got our pulley back through the side, we're going to grab one of our studs. And we're going to have to try to hold that alternator up while we're starting the bolt in this way. That's what makes it a little hard. But as you've seen, we didn't have to do all that extra stuff. So if we can make this a little bit easier and to avoid all that, it's definitely going to be worth it. But just remember, sometimes it's helpful to have a second person. If you can have a second person underneath kind of pushing up on it while you're tightening stuff, that'll help. But we don't have that, so we'll figure it out. Alright, I got one of my studs. As you see, I back the nut back off a little bit, but I leave it on there. That way, once we get it started, the alternator won't try to fall off, and this will be closer to being tight. So we're going to go ahead and stick this in the alternator, try to lift it up, fish the hole around until we can get it started. Pull this out, twist in, and come on, baby, you're right there. I think we're starting, but I don't want to speak too soon. Alright, the first one is started. That is going to be your big pain. Now that you got the first one started, the second one should be considerably easier. Boom, just like that. After a little bit of fight and struggle, you can see we're mounted. We got our studs tight. So now we can tighten those bolts up a little bit to get it snug. Then we'll go put that side bolt back in and we'll be just about done. So we'll go ahead and not fully tighten, but go ahead and snug these up. So as you can see, we're back down here. Get this out of your way a little bit. Right here's our pulley, and it's almost started already. You're just going to have to wiggle it, maybe jiggle it, even tickle it a little bit, and then we can get this to start in there. You just kind of wiggle it while you're twisting with your fingers to make sure that you're starting in the hole. And sometimes you may have to get a wrench up in there, but I think we've got one thread started. And what I like to do is push in to make sure that I'm getting good connection while I ratchet. I'm pretty positive we're started at this point. Yeah. So now we just run her in. So after you got your belt back on, go ahead and tighten up your two top nuts and the studs, make sure they're good and tight. Plug everything you unplugged back in and just reverse the process. Put your cover back on, your engine cover, your oil cap, all that, and you'll be finished. Well, I hope this video was informational. Also, don't forget to hook up your power. You're definitely not even going to be starting. But I hope the video is informational. Hope you guys enjoyed it and hope to catch you on the next one. Hope you have a great day.
The hell are you all still doing here? Told you the video's over. You're just gonna keep hanging around in the shop? Might as well start clicking on some stuff down there. I don't know, help me out a little bit. But I'm gonna be turning these lights off soon, so you might want to be getting to it. I'm heading out.